Hello, and welcome to another awesome video lesson from Bauer Guitar Lessons. I'm Brent Bauer, Mr. Brent, and this is for the week of May 1st, 2018, and this lesson was... Awesome. Oh yeah, double awesome. Alright, so it definitely was an awesome lesson. So the first thing we did is we went back to that Learning the Notes series, going over F sharp and G flat, which both sounded awesome. So now we've got one more, and that's what we're going to do for next week, which is going to lead us into a new series called Learning the Notes Mastery Series. So stay tuned for that one. And that brought us to the next thing, which we learned something called the 12 tones of music. And with that, we were able to use that as a reference, a little guide to find out our major scales. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to grab this whiteboard, and let's zoom in on the board. Okay, so if you notice right at top, we got 12 tones of music, and what that is that each letter in the music alphabet. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and those are the natural notes, and then in between them is where we find our sharp and flat notes. Now notice that B to C, E to F, they're right next to each other, and that's because they are half steps. So there's no extra space in between, there's no extra tone in between them. So you go right from B to C, right from E to F, and so forth. F to E, C to B. Now, in between the others though, they are whole steps, which means that there's a gap or there's a tone in between, and that's a sharp and flat note. So if we look here at A to B, we have A sharp or B flat. Then remember, B to C is a half step, but C to D, C sharp or D flat. D to E, D sharp or E flat. Then E to F, half step. F to G, F sharp or G flat. And G to A, G sharp or A flat. Now if we count them out, we have 7 natural notes, and then 5 that are sharp or flats, adding up to 12. Now notice if we have something like C sharp or D flat, that's still one tone. So right here, if I was to go to fret number 4 on the A string, that's C sharp, and that's D flat. So it's the exact same tone, it's just two different ways, two different names for it. And that all depends based on the scale you're in. Now from there, we went ahead and used that to find our major scales. So those 12 tones, those are all that there is for music. The only difference, then we got lower ones and higher ones. So lower in octave or higher octaves, but they're all still those same tones, like an A note here, A note there, A note here, right there, right there. They're all A notes. They're just different higher pitch or lower in pitch. So now let's go back to the board. So let's pick it back up and zoom back in on the board. We did 2 different keys for our example. We used key of B flat, which we start with the B flat and then go through the alphabet, C, D, E, F, G, A, back to B flat. And then we put in that formula for finding a major scale, which is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half. Now if we key that in, we find out that we have B flat and E flat as the flat notes, and then the rest are natural, because B flat to C is a whole step, C to D is a whole step, D to E flat is a half step, and we need that half step. If it was D to E, that's a whole step, so we need to bring that back to make it E flat. And then we go forward, E flat to F is a whole step, F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, and A to B flat is a half step. Now we take that same thing, but now we're going to use the key of A, which has sharp notes instead of flat notes. Now one thing to remember here is that you're never going to use sharp and flat notes together in a key. It's going to be one or the other. So it'd be sharp notes and natural notes, or flat notes and natural notes. So that's the only time you would use those. Now key of A has 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. And if we use that formula, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. A to B, whole step, that's what we need. B to C is a half step, we need a whole step, so we make that C sharp. And then a half step, C sharp to D, that's good. Then D to E, whole step. E to F is a half step, but we need it to be a whole step, so F sharp. And then F sharp to G sharp to make it a whole step, because F sharp to G is a half step. And then G sharp to A for a half step. and then we find out all of our notes in the key of A right there. Alright, so very cool, awesome job. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take these 12 tones of music and I want you to find a couple keys. So put them in your book right there. One was it's a variation of a natural key, a sharp key, and a flat key, which should be key of C. And then for your sharp keys, key of F sharp, and then for a flat key of A flat. And I want you to just try to plug in that formula and use that 12 tones of music as your reference as we get closer and closer to what we're going to call level 2 of the Bauer method, which is going into major scales. So these are major scales right here. So very cool, awesome job. So go ahead and just practice that and try to write out those 3 keys and you'll be all set for the next one. And that took us to the last thing, which we went, even before then, we went back to the movement chromatic. And we reviewed at 95 beats per minute, which was awesome. So now we brought it up to 97 beats per minute. So what I want you to do is go ahead and review that. Just keep working on that one. Set your drum machine to 97. And then remember, you got the 1, 3. It's just that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So very cool. So have some good practice there. And then that brought us back to He's a Pirate, Pirates of the Caribbean theme song, where we went over the first couple parts. So what we're going to do is just play each part. So let's zoom in and see what we got here. Okay, so we're going to be in 5th position, which means the first finger is going to be on fret 5. Starting on fret 5, then we've got our chromatic exercise, 2nd finger on the 6th fret, 3rd finger on the 7th, 4th finger on the 8th. So I'm going to go ahead and play each part, and then I want you to go ahead and play right back after me. So here's the first part. Remember the hammer right at the end there. And here's part 2, almost the exact same. Instead of the hammer, you're just going to pick that individual note right there. And part 3 is going to be starting off the same. However, now, 2nd finger is going to go fret 6 on the B string. So now we got here. So here, 1st finger, pinky, 1st finger, 3rd finger. Now from here, we're going to go to fret 7 on the G string. Now we start over, except the only difference, we're going to start on fret 2 on the G string, which is another A note. This is actually what we call a unison note to this note, fret 7 on the D string. But all we're going to do is slide up to fret 5. And then start back again. Everything else is the same. Now we have here. Now that's where it's going to change again to that other little part. So it starts off the same. So everything's the same up until that point. Now here's where we're going to use those chords there. We're going to do something called arpeggiating. Now we got here. Starts with that 1st finger, fret 5 on the high E string. It's going to start the chord. 2nd finger, B string. And then 3rd finger on the G. And then bring your 2nd finger up to the D string. Right there on fret 7. So you got this little. And then back with your 1st finger, just up 1 fret to fret 6 on the high E string. And what you're going to do, try to bar the B and the E strings. 2nd finger on the G, third finger on the D string. Now what happened, you just went up a position to 6th position because your first finger is now on fret 6. So I went from the 5th position to the 6th position. So now, let's put that whole thing together. Slide from fret 2. Here's the change. Chord and bar, and there we go. Alright, very cool, awesome job. So what I want you to do is go ahead and break each one of those parts down just a little bit at a time, part by part, and then for next time what we'll do is review that and see if we can go over the next couple parts to review. And that will get us all caught up to be able to do the next parts to it, so stay tuned for that one. Awesome job. So again, for this week for practicing, I want you to go ahead and just go through those 12 tones of music and then write out the key of C, the key of F sharp, and the key of A flat using the 12 tones of music as well as that formula, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. And then also go through the moving chromatic exercise now at 97 beats per minute and then work on that part to He's a Pirate and you'll be all set for next week. Alright, well, that's going to wrap up this video lesson, so I hope you got a lot out of it, enjoyed yourself, so stay tuned because there's plenty more coming, and always remember, always strive to be
in perfect harmony.
Take care.